Man, this is just scary every time I come up here. It's so narrow right there.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of On the Trail. I'm your host, Matt Moghaddam, and today we're tackling the most difficult trail in Death Valley National Park, Lippincott Pass. I'm joined today by two members of the Nitto pit crew, Geoff Tumang and Jonathan Hume. You may have seen the three of us on a previous episode through Titus Canyon, which is a much easier trail, but today we're running Lippincott Pass. And if there's one trail out here that exemplifies all the different types of terrain you'll run into in Death Valley, this is it. We're starting off here in Saline Valley. The trail is going to creep up behind us here along the side of a mountain goat trail where there's a lot of steep drop-offs, big rocks, a couple of narrow sections before we drop into Racetrack Playa Valley, where there's actually the Racetrack Playa itself with the sailing rocks, and from then on to Teakettle Junction. And as amazing and beautiful as this trail really is, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. This is the most difficult trail out here, and there's a good reason for that. If things go wrong, you know, it could be really deadly, but Geoff, do you have any thoughts on why that might be?
Yeah, I think what we have to watch out for is the temperatures. The highest recorded temperature was 134 degrees. The norm is about 110 to 120, so you definitely have to come prepared when you come out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, could you guys just imagine, like, you know, back in 1849 when the gold rush was coming through this area, you had guys with mule trains and covered wagons coming through this area. And we got three really awesome trucks behind us, and they've got air conditioning and all the different amenities and, you know, fuel to take us anywhere we want to go. I mean, life out there was really hard for those people, but we got it a lot easier with these trucks behind us. And speaking of these trucks behind us, today I brought out my 2020 Ford Ranger, which has an APG ProRunner conversion kit with King shocks, Baja Designs lights, and 35-inch Nitto Ridge Grapplers on it. I've actually ran this trail with this truck before, and there's a couple of sections that are a little bit tight just given how wide this truck is. But Jonathan, you've got a Raptor that's considerably wider than mine. Tell me a little bit about your truck, and what are your feelings going into this trail knowing how narrow it is?
Yeah, so I have a 2019 Ford Raptor. Has 37-inch Nitto Trail Grapplers, suspension upgrades from APG Road, and shocks from Fox, 3.0 live valves. With the track width, I'm a little concerned because it is roughly around 90 inches or so. But I think with a good spot, I feel pretty comfortable that we'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely. And spotting is something you want to do out here, because if you've got an extra person with you, which you always should have, especially on trails like this, that's going to help you get through some of those sketchier spots much easier than doing it on your own. And Geoff, you've probably got the best suited vehicle for this trail. It's a stock width F-150 that's going to help you through those narrow sections, but you're also not as modified as ours. How do you feel going into this trail with what you have done to your truck?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I increased the ground clearance with an Ibach lift kit. I have 35-inch Nitto Trail Grapplers and some 18-inch Rays engineering wheels. So, I mean, with a very mild build like that, I feel like I can get anywhere where you guys will today.
I think you're going to have an easier day than all of us, but I'm ready to turn these trucks around and get on this trail. So what do you guys say?
Yeah, let's go.
Great, let's do it.
Let's do it. So right now we're at the entrance to Saline Valley Road off of the 190 inside the boundary of Death Valley National Park. So it's a good opportunity right here to air down tires and kind of just make sure your rig is ready to go. These are 35 125017 Nitto Ridge Grapplers. They do require airing down, especially if you're going to get up in the rocks. You want to air down so the tire can conform and get you the most traction as you can to push you up, especially the kind of hills that we're going to be driving through today.
Nailed it.
Getting to Lippincott Mine Road is a little bit of a trek. It's about 2 hours of drive time from when you leave the highway on dirt going down Saline Valley Road. Lippincott Mine Road itself is the most difficult 4x4 trail in Death Valley. With that said, it's not particularly technical but there are a lot of sections where you need to be paying attention to where you're driving because there's a severe drop on one side, a rock wall to your other side, and it's very steep going up or down depending on which direction you're traveling. All right, guys, we're coming to a spot here where you can see the most difficult part of this trail, so we're gonna just stop and get out and take a quick look and see what we got to go through here next.
Copy that, Matt.
This is really where the most technical part of the trail is. You can kind of see that rock wall right there, how it comes straight down.
Yeah.
Just that dark section of the rock. So right there, the trail is extremely narrow, and it's actually narrower than my truck.
Okay.
You are gonna drop down a little bit of tire into this ditch like this, but they've filled it in with a few rocks, like football-sized rocks.
Okay.
And that should just give you enough to be able to drop your tire into it. And you got a 37, so you're gonna be just fine rolling in and out of that. I'll spot you through it just to make sure that you're good, but get your tires off to the wall side of the trail as much as possible without damaging anything, obviously body-wise. So, you guys ready to take this on?
Yeah, let's go hug some walls.
Dude, you're gonna be right up on that thing.
Yeah, all right.
I can't wait to see that Raptor get through there.
Yeah, me too. I hope I can get through there.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit worse than the last time I came through here, but doable. That's the drop right there that I'm worried about his Raptor on. Get up right on that wall. Okay, yeah, the Raptor is definitely gonna drop into it a little bit, but it should be fine. Just make sure you keep an eye on where your tires are at. I'm gonna help spot you guys through it. Because if you roll down there, there's gonna be nobody down there with a plate of charcuterie for you guys.
Whew. Man, this is just scary every time I come up here. It's so narrow right there. Made it.
Let's get this thick truck through this. All right, you got a good trajectory. Just come this way, straighten it out now. Straighten it out, yep, come straight at me. This way more, a little bit driver, yep, a little more driver. Okay, now straighten out. Come that way, just hold the wheel right there. Keep coming. Oh, Raptor's got it, no problem. Now start to cut over passenger a little bit. Cut over passenger, now go straighten out a little bit. Straighten out. Roll right on up behind the F150 and we got it through. All right, so guys, this next section here is off camber, but it's not too bad. As long as you just kind of roll into the power and just hold consistent speed going through it. No stops, no jerky motions, and kind of just hold the middle of the trail and get through it just like I am right now. There you go, hold that line right there, just roll right through it. Raptor coming through.
That's badass.
I know the views are dazzling, but do try to keep your eyes on the trail.
Yeah, looking over the left side, it's a little steep down there.
All right, so we just wrapped up Lippincott Pass. We took the uphill route from Saline Valley up here to Racetrack, which is definitely a little bit more challenging than going downhill, as you can see by some of the obstacles we had to go over through there. And this trail, you know, as difficult as it was for these trucks over here, it was actually created because of the mining operations that started here in the early 20th century and actually went through the 1950s. But I mean, we were able to do it with these trucks, and it wasn't too bad. You know, we had four-wheel drive and high clearance. We were a little bit worried about some of the width of the Raptor, you know, going through some of those narrow sections there. But Jonathan, with your 37s, I mean, you had no problem getting through all this stuff. You kind of just floated over all these rocks.
Yeah, I think the wider stance on the truck got me a little bit worried, especially in a couple of those tight spots. But I think a good spot really helped, and the 37s really pulled me through very easily. I wouldn't, you know, advise anybody to be overly confident though with something like that. Would definitely still use a good spotter and watch your points as you go up and, you know, through the trails.
To that point, you don't want to bring up like a rental car, even like crossover SUVs that have all-wheel drive. Let's say like a RAV4 or something with an all-wheel drive. it's not suited for a trail like this. You really need something that's like a body on frame, you know, dedicated SUV that's made for actual four-wheel drive driving and stuff like that, where you have a selectable four-wheel drive system. And Geoff, I mean, your F-150 was narrower, so we didn't think we were gonna have any problems with the width, and we didn't, but this was actually your first time on a trail like this, pushing your own personal limits as a driver. How is that compared to your pushing your limits out on the racetrack when you're out there with your time attack car?
It's very different, but it's also, there's a lot of things that are similar in that, you know, your abilities. So one of the things that's important to have is, you know, your vehicle awareness. So be very comfortable with your vehicle, the size of it. That'll definitely help you get through the trail a little bit easier, especially in those narrow sections. Also, you know, there's a big visualization exercise as we come up the hill here. We had to pick the right line, which is very similar to being on a racetrack. So you keep your eyes up, plan ahead, look for those boulders, place the truck correctly, and you know, it wasn't too bad. I've definitely blown my car off the side of the racetrack a lot harder than you know, this trail, so not too bad at all.
Definitely a bigger penalty for failure out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we got through the hard part. Now we're on the easy track here. This is basically just fire road from here on out until we're done. But what's coming up next here is the Racetrack Playa, which is one of the most iconic Death Valley spots, and you can only get there with the truck that's got four-wheel drive with tires like this. It doesn't quite need anything that crazy, you know, that Lippincott would require, but you'd at least want to have something with an all-terrain tire or something to that effect so that you can get out here on these dirt roads, because there's no pavement anywhere around here. Racetrack has got a lot of really cool geologic formations, things that you won't see anywhere else in the world. And I think it's going to be a good spot to stop and have some lunch before we push on to Teakettle Junction. So what do you guys say? We're going to grab a bite to eat?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
Cool.
Let's go.
Do it.
Before heading onto a trail like this, you want to make sure that you have the essential items to, you know, tackle the trail, and if you come across an issue, you can make a repair to where you can get back to the highway. A spare tire, a jack, you know, the wrenches to remove those items, all very important. As I found when we did the Titus Canyon trail, I need to carry a set of hose clamps with me, and that will definitely be a part of my kit that I bring with me. So why do they call it a racetrack?
So good question. If you guys have ever seen like those pictures of like a lake bed like this with a rock that has like a big trail behind it before?
Yeah.
So those are called the sailing rocks, and this is the only place in the world that I know of that has these things. So back in like 2013, 2014, they had a group of team of scientists out here doing some research, and they got really lucky and they actually found the reason why these rocks move. We're coming up on one here, it doesn't have a trail behind it, but if you can imagine like a trail running behind this rock right here, how it works is like it really requires a few really unique situations to all happen at once for them to move. It requires rainfall in the wintertime, and then the next day the ice sheet actually melts enough to have like a big sheet of broken up ice.
Oh.
And there's got to be wind between like, you know, 10-15 miles an hour is enough to push this slab of ice with the rock underneath it, just drags a trail through the mud. And then when the ice melts, it just kind of plops right there and stays there. And it creates this trail behind it. Like these things can actually, in one motion, can go up to 200 feet.
Wow.
Like just with wind.
You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. When you told us we were coming to a racetrack, I thought we were lining up.
Yeah, and here's the thing though, you definitely do not drive a vehicle on this surface. Yeah, I'm just saying, if you drive on this, it will scar this for decades. The National Park Service and a lot of, you know, other environmentalist groups, including off-roaders like me, and I'm sure you guys, after you've been out here, are gonna, you know, really push for people to stay off of surfaces like this, because it's just, it will never be back to the way it was. My general rule every time I come out off-roading anywhere, if it's you know, out here in the desert or in the mountains or whatever, is to leave it better than how I found it. And a few ways I make sure I can do that is to pick up any trash that either, you know, I made or somebody else had left on the ground. Don't go out there doing a bunch of donuts and burnouts and disturbing the trail. And you absolutely don't want to be taking your vehicle off the trail, because it's not a good look for off-roaders in general. In an effort to kind of combat that, I always like to educate people and tell them, you know, just leave the place better than how you found it. That's really the best rule in any way that makes sense, you know, for wherever you're at. this spot doesn't really bear a whole lot of significance other than the fact that it's the intersection between Hunter Mountain Road and Racetrack, which is where we just came from. And Hunter Mountain kind of goes around and is another way back down to Saline Valley, kind of goes up in elevation, but this is just kind of like the intersection, and nobody really knows why it's first called Teakettle Junction, nor why did people start this tradition of leaving tea kettles here. For you guys at home, I got a challenge for you. In the comments section, write out a possible, plausible reason for why this is called Teakettle Junction. It's probably gonna be wrong, but I'd love to see what you guys come up with. Check that out, you guys.
Man, that's epic.
This is Ubehebe Crater. That's just one of the main examples of the geologic forces at play that kind of shape Death Valley. You see a lot of stuff like this in this area, but yeah, it wasn't like volcanic, it was more like just steam under the ground, building pressure and then just popping the top off. All right, well, oh shit. All right, I think it's pretty windy up here. We should probably get out of this spot before I lose my hat. Yeah, let's go. All right, well, we just finished up a fantastic day out here on the trails in Death Valley National Park, starting out this morning with Lippincott and coming through some of the other trails to get back to where we are today. I am totally stoked because the trucks are in great shape, we're in great shape, we had no drama today, and that really leads to a successful day for us out here. But I want to ask you guys before we head out of here, you know, Jonathan, what are you going to tell your friends and family about what we did out here today? How are you going to convince them you had a great time out here?
Definitely would tell them that this is some place that you have to come see in person. You know, I think coming out here to experience all the things we did today, you know, you really need to come out and see it for yourself. And you know, today, specifically Lippincott, being able to conquer that tight trail in a Raptor was pretty rewarding.
Absolutely, yeah, and even more so dropping in a racetrack right after that and you get that big expanse valley. That's really my favorite part of what we did today too. And Jeff, you got a wife and kid at home. How are you gonna convince them to come out here and experience Death Valley for themselves?
The thing about this place is it's very accessible depending on what you drive. You don't necessarily have to go up Lippincott to see those things, and with my girls being a little squeamish at home, I might take the alternate route. But, you know, a trip with the guys and with a good leader, you know, I was confident today.
That's awesome, and I think they'll warm up to it over time too, so don't count them out just quite yet. I want to thank Driving Line and Nitto for having us out here on the trail. We have a great time making these episodes for you guys. Of course, the viewers want to thank you because without your recommendations, this show wouldn't be possible. So if you've got a recommendation for a trail we should try out, please like, subscribe, comment below. Let us know where we should take this show next. But until then, you guys, I'm Matt Moghaddam for Driving Line, and we'll see you on the trail.